to be humble, to be kind. It is a giving of the peace in your mind, to a stranger, to a friend, to give in such a way that has no end. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other and nothing more. And to be bold, to be brave, it is the thinking that the heart can still be saved, and the darkness can come quick. The danger's in the anger and in the hanging on to it. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other, nothing more. And tell me what it is that you see, a world that's full of endless possibilities, and heroes don't look like they used to, they look like you do. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other, nothing more. We are how we treat each other, nothing more. We are how we treat each other.
folks in the atrium who can answer questions after the service. There's also a meal. We serve lunch really every Sunday after the service. Make your way all the way across the atrium to the social hall and stick around for a conversation and lunch if you can. We gather each week here at the intersection of arts, justice, and spirituality, and we recognize, especially this week, that we gather on the unceded territory of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people, Uchiyun. We hope that we who have inherited a broken covenant with the first peoples of this place and with the land might do our part, might have the humility and the courage to live into a new, bold, and healing relationship, a new solidarity with the first peoples here at the land. There's a memory book at the back of the sanctuary. Every week you're invited, if you'd like, to write down a joy or a sorrow, grief or gratitude, anything that's on your heart that you'd like read aloud during the service. Or you're also welcome to light a candle there for a silent memory or prayer. We send super cards, big cards out to members of our community, and there's places where you can sign them out there in the atrium after the service as well. We have been exploring this season what it means to weave the webs we weave and the places where they rip and how they get repaired. Today we're ending that service series thinking about this shimmering, shuddering convergence, which was going to be a sexier service before what happened in the election this month. So we're just going to keep trying to make sense of what it means to live in this deeply interconnected reality. I was wondering what was going on there. Okay, we'll figure that out, I'm sure. Meanwhile, let's rise in body or in spirit. And before we sing our first hymn, before we even greet one another, let's just wave to those folks joining us online, wherever you are, whomever you are. We're so glad you're here. So glad to be with you virtually. Will you turn and greet your neighbor, let them know how glad you are to participate in the church today. playing this year. Oh, hello. Can you hear me now? Okay, we'll find our way. We've been playing this year with having each month the folks who were born at the end of the month come up. Anybody who was born in November. So I'm going to invite you up to come light our chalice this morning while Gail Simpson offers a reading for us. So if you have a November birthday, I know one of you down here at least does, come on up, come light the chalice. We are so glad that you were born. In our Unitarian Universalist theology, yes. We believe it's a blessing each of us was born, that each one of us is born one more Redeemer, one more soul, worthy and whole, capable of bringing love and joy and justice to this world.
Our chalice reading today is based on lyrics from A Glimpse of the Weave from the musical It's Only Life by John Puccino. It can happen in the middle of a crowded street, in the middle of a crowded life, in the middle of a crowded mind. Suddenly, you're looking down on the street, hovering over the life floating outside the mind, and you feel as if you've finally home. You snag onto a thread that pulls you to a place where dreams that fill your head are woven delicate as lace, where possibilities lie raveled in their skeins, where somehow it all makes sense. But it only lasts an instant, and you snap back into form with a tiny wisp of sadness that you can't stay there forever. Then you remember. Nothing lasts forever.
To you, happy birthday to you.
Well, that was a little...
Happy birthday, dear. Happy birthday to you.
Let us give
Say it.
thanks for the food that we share. Let us give thanks for people who care. Food fills the body and love makes us whole. Let us give thanks deep down in our soul.
Demos gracias por compartir el pan. Demos gracias por el que hace bien. Pan llena el cuerpo y amor lo demás. Demos gracias de todo corazón.
Let us give thanks for the food that we share. Let us give thanks for people who care. Food fills the body and love makes us whole. Let us give thanks deep down in our soul. Demos gracias por compartir el pan. Demos gracias por el que hace bien. Pan llena el cuerpo y amor lo demás. Demos gracias de todo corazón.
That was awesome. I'm going to tell you a story today about a young person named Avery. And hold on to the fact that this is a story about Avery, because sometimes it may not seem like that. So Avery, when they were 12 years old, got a bicycle for Christmas. And they were so excited. Straight out of the box, Avery loved the bicycle. It was shiny blue and it had little sparkles in it. And the bicycle for Avery meant freedom. Suddenly, Avery could go all around the town riding their bicycle. They could go anywhere. It was great. They loved the bicycle. Avery also had their own particular sense of style, and though the blue part was great, Avery thought the bike needed some more stuff. And so Avery got some bright pink, neon pink tape and put it on the handlebars. They saved up money and they got lime green rims for the bike. And then they saved up a little more money and they got an orange seat. Now imagine that in your head for a second. Blue bike, pink handlebars, lime green rims, orange seat. It was something. It was something to behold as Avery rode around town. Now, Avery got a little older and went to high school, turned 14, started high school in the next town over. So not their town, but the next town over, but it was close enough that Avery could ride their bicycle. And so they did every morning. It was a much bigger school than their middle school, and it was a little overwhelming, and they didn't know very many people, but they had their bike, so it was okay. One morning, though, Avery woke up late. It was in a rush and a panic and was going to be late for school and rode as fast as they could and got to high school and forgot to lock the bike. And so Avery went about their day at the school and they came out at the end of the day and guess what happened? It was gone. Their bike was gone. Like they looked around, they went all around the school. It was just gone. And Avery was so sad. And they had to call their parents and get a ride home, and then they had to ride the bus to school every morning. And also they just didn't have their shiny blue bike with the pink handlebars and the lime rims and the orange seat. And you know that feeling when somebody takes something from you that you love. They just felt bad. So a month went by. Avery was still pretty sad, but they were getting used to it. And there had been long planned at their school an art show. And they were going to name a winner of the art show. Avery had not been paying attention and didn't go to the ceremony to see who won, but evidently the winner, it was everyone in the school could not stop talking about it. The principal said, "This is the most amazing art I have ever seen. We're going to make it the mascot of the school. We're going to put it out front permanently, and every year in the future, we're going to have a day that we celebrate this particular art, and everybody gets the day off to do art together." It sounds great, right? It sounds awesome, until Avery went outside and saw the art and realized it was a turkey bicycle, and that the body of the turkey was sparkly blue, and the feathers were lime green, and the feet were pink, and its head looked suspiciously like an orange bicycle seat. And Avery realized somebody had used her bike to make this great piece of art, and they didn't know what to do. What should they do? Everybody loved it. Like, they couldn't stop talking about it. It was the most amazing thing ever, and nobody wanted to give up that free day of art. Avery went to their favorite teacher and explained the situation, that this was their stolen bicycle. But everybody already loved it. And the teacher, to their credit, believed Avery and brought it up, and there was a discussion. And most of the people thought, well, you know, Avery didn't lock the bike. Right? I mean, really, it's Avery's fault. And then other people were like, well, we already have it, and it's great, and we love it, and it is a symbol of our school, and it's just going to stay. And some people eventually, after a lot of discussion, decided that maybe we should make a plaque and put it in front of it and say, made with Avery's bike. And some people thought we should just take it apart and reassemble Avery's bicycle and give it back to them. But that was a very small group of people. And this discussion went on and on and on. And now Avery is a junior in high school, and they're still talking about it. I mean, things could change, we don't know. But that's where the story is right now. Every day, Avery comes to school and sees their bike as a turkey bicycle in front of the school that everyone loves. And so, happy Thanksgiving, y'all. And if you'll rise in body or spirit, and we're going to sing the kids out with This Little Light of Mine.
Good morning. I'm Gail Simpson, worship associate today, ready to share part of my journey with you. I am currently obsessed with trying to finish the lyrics of a project I'm working on. You know that feeling? So close, but then just, ugh. So I think that sharing my progress with you today might help. I'm going to resist the temptation to say blah, blah, blah when I get to the 3 syllables that are driving me crazy. It's at least my 200th draft, but I'm just going to use placeholder lyrics. And if anyone is interested in a deeper dive into what my problem is exactly, you can find me after the service. I'd be happy to talk about it. But here's the setup. It's a cycle with 4 songs. 3 of the songs will be sung by patients in an elder care facility. The 4th will be sung by one of their caregivers as she folds laundry, standing behind the row of patients, listlessly watching daytime TV. Her phone vibrates in her pocket. She surreptitiously takes out her earbuds. I knew you'd find me. Yes, your kisses left me breathless and hazy. I wonder what you'll do when you figure out I'm actually crazy. I'm at work, can't talk now. I've got this mountain of sheets to fold. I know you'd laugh to see how much I fuss. I fuss over the scent and the crease they hold. I work with people on the cusp of final days. Most welcome death. This sheet could cradle someone's final breath. Our shared life, the tasks we perform with and for each other, create connection that infuses mundane tasks with meaning. I'm starting my 5th decade as a member here. That's a lot of committee meetings and a lot of shared humble chores, peeling potatoes, stuffing envelopes, shelving choir music, hauling donations, pulling weeds. I'm grateful for the long view I share with many of you here. I know that while we move together through this season of Thanksgiving and grieving, together we will remember that nothing lasts forever. Time is only time. Nothing lasts forever. Not ignorance, not bliss, not tomorrow, not this, not fear, not love. Well, maybe love.
Let's rise once more in body or spirit and sing together. We are not our own.
We are not our own. Earth forms us. Human leaves on nature's growing vine. Fruit of many generations. Seeds of life divine. We are not alone. Earth names us, past and present, people near and far, family and friends and strangers. Show us who we are. Therefore, let us make thanksgiving, and with justice willing and aware, give to earth and all things living liturgies of care. Let us be a house of welcome, living stone upholding living stone, gladly showing all our neighbors we are not our own.
I invite you to take a moment to rest more comfortably in your seat, to feel your connection down to this good earth, this holy earth, to take a deeper breath and turn inward with me. What now, love? It's the question at the bottom of the slide to a toddler's windswept face, eyes gleaming, shouting with their whole being, more, more. What now, love? It's the question at the foot of the bed as tears begin to dry. A question to coax heavy hearts out of hiding in familiar places. What now, love?
It's the exasperated end of the news story. The anguished cry to a world at the brink. What now, love? It's the whole country in need of a long overdue reckoning, a tantrum cry in the face of feelings too big and too old for any simple words. What now, love? I try to ask myself in the morning and listening for the dawn's new call. What is the task of love now? There are men plotting how to round up our neighbors and detain and deport them without consideration of story or family. People plotting wars in service of power and wealth. Our Congress has already begun to bully its first transgender member before she's even sworn in. What is the task of love now? God of love, who knows us as sensitive and small beings, who must get up and make the bed and get the groceries and fold the laundry. God of love, who knows us as actors in the epic story of our species, as political agents born to take part in this perilous moment, touch us in the place that knows already how to meet this day with love. Remind us, love makes space to grieve and to be grateful. Remind us how love says yes to exactly what is happening now, in all the horror, in all the beauty. How love invites us to keep finding a way. May we rest in stillness and quiet in this love. In this community of care and witness, we hold one another through the seasons of our lives. We lift up those joys and sorrows among us. Today with Win, we offer May my heart both sing and grieve, feeling all. And Beth shares mourning the loss this month of my cousin Deb, a weaver of family ties. Sandy shares thinking of my mom and dad who died on this day, 34 and 4 years ago, respectively. Feeling love and gratitude for all they gave me, and my brother and my sister and our families. Carrie prays, may all my trans brothers and sisters be safe. And with Anita Mermel, anxious about current political trends, my daughter Kaja legally married her partner Lauren this morning in the woods outside of Seattle. Formal wedding planned for summer 2026. One of my mom's Francie Leifert shares, I'm remembering two gay men who had profound influences on me. My father, who was killed November 15th, 1979, and Harvey Milk, who was assassinated November 27th, 1978. Phoebe shares, as long-range intercontinental missiles were launched from Ukraine into Russia, prayers that World War III will not escalate. Gratitude that Hiroshima and Nagasaki survivors were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize last month. Christina is thinking of a dear friend, Henry, who we lost last week. And Tricia offers in memory of my dear friend Annette, who died a few months ago and changed my life for good. Someone shares gratitude for the loving connection, and Katrin Welch shares deep gratitude to this congregation for being such a precious refuge these past tumultuous weeks. I'll bring love back from Minneapolis for everyone in January. For all that we have named aloud this morning, for all that we hold in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts here in this room and wherever you are joining us from afar, may we know that what we bring is held in the loving embrace of this community, and by that deeper love beyond all naming, that love that cannot and will not let us go. May it be so, and amen.
Yet my soul drew back, guilty of dust and sin. But quick-eyed love, observing me grow slack from my first entrance in, drew nearer to me, sweetly questioning if I lacked anything. A guest, I answered, worthy to be here. Love said, you shall be here. I, the unkind, ungrateful, ah, my dear, I cannot look on thee. and smiling did reply, who made the eyes but I? Truth, Lord, but I have more than let my shame go where it doth deserve. And know you not, says love, who bore the blame, my dear, then I will serve. You must sit down, says love, and taste my meat. So I did sit and eat.
There were dead salmon in the news this week. Did you hear about the dead salmon in the news? I'm not making a joke about the cabinet picks. Not ready to go there. Okay, but no, really, in Lake Merritt, they showed up. Dead salmon showing up in Lake Merritt, which is very unusual. It's rare that the salmon would make their way up all of the barriers and impasses that we've put in their way to try and get to the spawning ground that would have been upstream originally from where the lake is now. So it's good news, though it seemed sad to me at first, hearing dead salmon in the lake. Good news to those who've been monitoring such things. James Robinson, the executive director of the Lake Merritt Institute, said it would be amazing to have Lake Merritt be a spawning ground for salmon again. Said it would bring a tear to my eye if that happens, because it's a testament not only to the improving water quality, but to the salmon constantly coming back in, trying to find a way. Nature finds a way. In this interconnected, undulating, mysterious cosmos, nature finds a way. The best image I know for God, the most sensible way of trying to make sense of the insensible, is Indra's net, this idea from Hindu mythology. This is the way my teacher, Rebecca Parker, would describe it. She said, picture the universe like Indra's net. Indra's net's an interconnected web of countless strands, and at every intersection, there's a jewel drop of water that reflects the whole. And so you imagine this infinite number of jewels, each with infinite facets, and each facet reflecting all the infinite jewels out beyond it. She says that process philosophy sees the universe as a plentitude of these jewel drops, each holding the whole in precisely the way the whole is reflected at that point of the intersection. She says, picture this bejeweled net as a spider web covered with dew. Each drop of water reflecting the whole. Picture it lasting for only an instant, then it blips out of existence, and in the next instant reappears, slightly different. And over time, the net appears to be in motion, shimmering or undulating, and these shimmers are people running, tides moving, comets soaring, grass growing, sun burning, rocks eroding. And in the people running, there are emotions flowing, thoughts forming and passing, things remembered, things forgotten, and all of it is the cosmos. In an ever-changing pulsation of becoming and ceasing, becoming and ceasing, becoming and ceasing. And as we've been talking about, one of the truths of being so deeply interconnected in this fabric of reality is that we inevitably impact one another. To be in interrelationship like this, to be reflected in every other jewel in this bejeweled net, is to not be able but to impact one another. And sometimes that impact is hurt. And I think when things are broken, when we are hurt or when we've hurt someone, we so want to, at least part of us so wants to fix it. But the truth is, it's not always the time to fix it. Sometimes when we are in a state of brokenness, all we can do is feel the pain and make space for the grief. And there's nothing to do, nothing to fix. And I think it's by doing this, by honoring and acknowledging, owning our impact, right? Taking accountability for the fact that we have and we do impact one another, making space for the feeling, being with the discomfort and the pain of that reality, and allowing the grief to move through. That's how we can end up linking our grief to gratitude. When we move through grief in a way that allows us to learn and grow, and especially I'm thinking now about history, how we relate to our history, the history we've inherited. When we grieve it and learn from it, this is how it can transform into gratitude. I think that's the task of love for the holiday we celebrate this week. There was a book that made a lot of waves a couple of years back, The Dawn of Everything. If anybody take a look at this book, nice thick book by David Wengrow and David Graeber, trying to understand the sweep of human history from a very different lens than the other authors who've taken a stab at that. And one of the stories they tell fascinates me, and their scholarship, I should say, is controversial. So take this with a grain of salt. But they tell the story of Candiaronk, who was a statesman of the Huron or Wendat people, native group in the Northeast. And Candiaronk ended up spending time in Europe. He sailed across and was among the gentry of Europe, this indigenous American statesman. And there's a philosophical dialogue that a not very well-known French aristocrat wrote, in which he makes a caricature of this indigenous statesman, where he critiques Christianity and European culture. And most scholars had assumed that it was a fictional account, that it was just kind of a noble savage trope. But Graeber and Wengrow's scholarship points that it might actually be more likely that this was a notation taken down from conversations with Candiaronk, that the French aristocrat, either from memory or while they were talking, actually transcribed these conversations. And the insight, the key of this is that those ideas that this indigenous thinker brought to Europe during the fast-moving, changing times of the Enlightenment, so-called, these ideas about individual liberty and equality, about rejection of religious dogma and established social hierarchy based on an ascribed status, that these ideas that became hallmarks of the Enlightenment were ideas heavily influenced by Europeans' encounters with Native Americans. And whether the specifics of Candiaronk's story are true or not, the reality of that influence is true, that the civilizations that were here had an enormous impact on European thinking, which I think is so important because it runs counter to the way we usually think about agency in that encounter. Most of the ways we talk about that history places agency only in the European settler colonialists who are coming over and having their impact on the indigenous peoples here. But in fact, agency always goes both ways. Whatever the narrative of oppression, we often will hold the more powerful, the more oppressive facet of the story as the sole agent in the narrative. It's never entirely true. There's agency in every character, every side. This is the kind of thinking that I think one of my heroes, Utah Phillips, would call the long memory. Utah Phillips was a Unitarian rabble-rouser. He was a singer-songwriter and a union guy. He was an anarchist, and he lived mostly out here in California, out in Grass Valley, Nevada City. He said that the long memory is the most radical idea in the country. It is the loss of that long memory which deprives our people of that connective flow of thoughts and events that clarifies our vision, not of where we're going, but where we want to go. One of the most memorable Thanksgivings in my life was all about holding that long memory. We woke up early before dawn. I imagine a few of you have probably done this too, to take the ferry over to Alcatraz Island, where at sunrise, people gather, hundreds of people gather each year, all in our warmest California layers. I remember coming and approaching the gathering place while the drums were beating, the clarity of the elders at the center, seats for the elders at the center, all the rest of us standing around in rings as the stories were told, as we held history together. Held the history of the Alcatraz Red Power movement who occupied the island from November 20th, 1969 to June 11th, 1971. Held the stories of the American Indian movement, the people who came to visit occupied Alcatraz after their own protest at Plymouth Rock, painting the storied stone red of the call that has echoed down the years, down the decades, the centuries, for a national day of mourning. So on Thursday, we all gather around tables with the weight of history and collective trauma and the need for transgenerational healing. And on Thursday, many of us at least gather just needing to sit down and get through a meal with family. or needing to just take a moment out of busy, stressed out lives to feel the abundance of life, to enjoy the earth's blessings upon us? How do we ritualize this need to honor our gratitude and our grief together? So I was thinking about, how do we do that? We know some ways of doing that. I do that, many of us do at the Passover Seder each year. This meal, this ritual meal where we celebrate the community and the history of liberation, where we enjoy the foods together, but we also eat the bitter herbs, right? And we dip those karpas in salt water twice, and we put drops of wine from our glasses out on the table to diminish our own pleasure, knowing that the suffering of the Egyptians who faced the plagues was a step along the journey. Or at a memorial service, like we had for Grace Hope yesterday, where we hold both the grief of the loss and celebrate the gratitude for all of the gifts that she brought, that she gave. How might we ritualize that around our Thanksgiving table? I went Googling for this. I thought somebody must have figured this out already. Like what, just put something. Isn't there something we can put on our table? What's the grief food we can add to the mix? Chocolate chip cookies. Somebody said, yes. Maybe there is. Maybe for you there is a grief food you could add to the mix. There were a lot of suggestions from indigenous writers about honoring the history of the food, the history of the day, telling the story. I think the beautiful thing about rituals, especially in our Unitarian Universalist tradition, is that we are always creating and recreating them. They are always a work in progress, always open to new revelation, to our living tradition. So how might we honor those three sisters, the beans and squash and corn at the table? Remember their stories. Or maybe for those of us who do descend from settler colonizers, maybe it's a moment of telling our own family story, of remembering when we first gave up our indigeneity to become a part of this American empire, when our families first started speaking this English language. I think one purpose of ritual is to hold that which is beyond our mind's ability to comprehend in its entirety, in contact with our everyday sensory lives. To bring the ineffable, the questions that are beyond answers, in touch with our physical embodied reality. The ultimate theological questions about our place and role in the universe, about where and to whom we belong, about the nature of humanity and the holy, about our relationship to the past and the present and the future. These are questions that we have a deep hunger for wisdom about, questions that drive us to write novels and paint masterpieces, and questions that we hold in some abeyance, keep from overwhelming our sensitive beings by ritualizing our wrestling with them. When we have more than enough and see others struggling around us to survive, when we feast at Thanksgiving knowing that there are others who are living on the streets of our city, we are faced with a challenging theological dilemma. How do we enjoy, take pleasure in the abundance of life, knowing it is so unevenly distributed? How do we hold our gratitude and joy at being given great gifts alongside our grief at all that has been ripped away and stolen? Knowing that sometimes one has been the direct cause of the other. There was a beautiful piece from the Shift Network a couple years ago by Gillian Shelley. She talked about struggling to reconcile that beloved tradition of Thanksgiving, the tremendous value of rituals of gratitude, with the need to mourn the atrocities of our national history. The lies and the harm that lay at the root of the holiday that many of us learned to celebrate with turkeys dressed in pilgrim hats. She writes that the cultural fixation on giving thanks without the balance of honoring grief is a crisis of the soul. She says, I'm questioning, some maybe even say stewing as a white European settler heritage person, on how I might honor truth on Thanksgiving. Even the term Thanksgiving is culturally appropriated from the Thanksgiving address, a vital oral tradition shared by indigenous people all around the world. Yet this particular word is also very connected to the six-nation confederacy of the Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois peoples. For the Haudenosaunee, these words are traditionally said at the beginning of every gathering to honor the intricate web of life that supports human thriving. And so she says, in the intended spirit of the holiday, my spirit feels deep gratitude. I praise the heart of life for this wild uncertainty of being alive and sharing the earth with hummingbirds, poetry, valuable work, laughter and singing, thunder and rain, sea foam, human relationships, and fire. But then she says, as many wise ones say, the second face of genuine praise is true grief. Martine Prechtel says it like this: grief is praising what you've lost, and praise is grieving what you have. I think the first part of that is intuitive. Grief is praising what you've lost, our love for it. That second part takes me a second at least. Praise is grieving what you have. To praise, to truly thank, relish what we have is to acknowledge that everything we love is fleeting. And what gift might be here in this relationship between grief and praise? Shelley says it like this: we can think of the two, praise and grief, as twins separated at birth. It's the human gift and burden to weave them together. I believe that if praise belongs to the territory of the spirit, then grief belongs to the soul. It is grief that remembers every detail and tethers us to the earth, our history, our healing path. She made me think of another story, one last story from the journalist Michelle Norris, when she visited the African American History Museum when it first opened in 2016. Another visitor, she heard, complained to her about the emphasis on slavery at the opening exhibits of the museum. She just wished it could be more focused on the achievements of Black Americans. She wondered if the exhibits commemorating slavery could be housed off to the side so that if someone were rushed or tired, quote, slavery could be optional. Norris's conclusion was to take a page from what Germany has learned as they've reckoned with their history. There's a German word, 26 letters long and 6 syllables, so I'm sorry, Vergangenheitsbewältigung. No easy translation for it, but it means something like working off the past. It's about a particular relationship to the past, a relationship that holds the pain of what has happened with a determination to heal, to learn and grow from it. Not a fixing mentality, but a healing, learning, growing mentality. It's the stance that mainstream German culture has adopted towards remembering the atrocities of the Holocaust. Everyday life is brought regularly and viscerally in touch with the potent big questions of how a society could commit and permit such violence through ritual and monument. Just one example, Norris describes the roughly 75,000 small brass stumbling stones which are embedded in the streets and plazas of hundreds of towns and cities throughout Germany and elsewhere. Each begins with the phrase, "Here lived," and followed by the facts of someone's life, their name and birth date, and then etched in stone the grim facts of their fate: exile, internment, murder. Imagine, she invites us, traveling through an American state and coming upon small embedded memorials that listed key facts about the lives of the enslaved. Their names, their fates, their birth dates, the number of times they were sold, the ways they were separated from their families, the conditions of their toil. Imagine how that might shape the way we comprehend the peculiar institution of slavery, its legacy, and its normalized trauma. Imagine, she says, if there were similar embedded memorials for indigenous peoples who were forced from their land, relegated to reservations far from their normal ranges and regions. Imagine stopping to fill up the tank at a roadside gas station and noticing the reflection of a gleaming brass marker that bears the names of the tribal elders who once lived where you're standing. We don't yet, in this country, know how to ritualize our grief and our gratitude together. But the good news is all these rituals, they're made up. What if the work of love this week is to make up a ritual of holding grief alongside gratitude? To hold our capacity to impact one another, to know every facet reflecting every other jewel in an endless interweaving, and through feeling the vast unfolding of hurt and healing of which we are a part, to do our best to love it all, to grieve and rejoice. This is the kind of love that will clean waterways so the salmon might return. It's the kind of love that will honor all the victims of empire and reckon with the unfair privileges many of us continue to enjoy as spoils. It's the kind of love that will face tyranny with the force of history. The kind of love that knows we are capable of so much better. May it be so, and amen.
Good morning. I'm Michael DeWitt, and one of your members on the Board of Trustees. In our covenantal community, we share the responsibility for pursuing our mission by giving generously of our time, talent, and treasure. I invite you to support the work of our church by giving electronically by scanning the QR code on the back of your badge, or by putting a cash or check donation into the donation envelope that you'll find in back of the pew in front of you, and then put it in the donation box beside the fountain in the atrium as you leave the service. Each week, half of our offering is shared with a nonprofit Good Neighbor organization. Make sure I've got the right one here. The Good Neighbor organization for this month is No More Tears, a violence and crime prevention program founded by men incarcerated at San Quentin and concerned citizens seeking to remedy the rise of violent crime in their communities and reduce the recidivism rates of returning citizens. Will you join me now in rededicating ourselves to our mission? We dedicate our offering and ourselves to the mission of this congregation, to create loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And I know we're running long here this morning, but I just want to lift up a few things happening in the life of our community. We're going to have Kieran come up, and we got a few coming up to share about the food drive that we do each year at this time. I'll mention before they do that today is also the last day to claim lost and found items in the social hall, so take a look, and I guess come back tomorrow if you see something you really like that's not yours. If you want to participate in the Thanksgiving potluck that's happening here on Thursday, there's a sign-up in the atrium, or you can do that online. And lastly, next Sunday is our holiday fair, so please come planning to find some gifts for your loved ones after church next Sunday. All right, take it away, you all.
We want you to know that UUCB's annual food drive has begun. As always, we are partnering with the Richmond Emergency Food Pantry. This pantry is important because it helps provide food for 300 families every week.
There is a box in the atrium for food donations and a list of the items that the pantry rarely gets, so they would be happy to have more of to share.
If you can't bring any physical donations, we hope you'll consider making a generous financial donation to the pantry. You can do that online through the UCB website. Just don't forget to write food pantry in the notes section. 100% of the donations given this way will go straight to the pantry and let us know what our overall gift is to the pantry.
The food drive will go until December 8th. Thank you for helping make this year's drive a great success.
Thanks for leading the way, you all. Let's rise, embody your spirit, and sing one last song, Just As Long As I Have Breath.
Through with pain I may by way
reach out a hand or touch a shoulder, make real that connection that is always there. Thanks. Or out to the great beyond, shimmering facets, reflecting infinitely all the other jewels in this bejeweled net. May we know we can hold grief and gratitude together with love. May we know we can hold history and heal it. May it be so, and amen.
Amen.